Welcome to the first episode of EMG Transformations. Thank you for tuning in and walking this journey with me. I'm your host, Dan Stowell, and the purpose of this podcast is to inspire, educate, and transform your life. Each episode will guide you to better health and stay mentally and physically fit with the world's best wellness and resilience practices. We will feature those who overcame serious struggles along with health experts to share their experiences and bring forth the best advice for you to get results. We know there's not a one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to your health or managing stress. Every body is different, and what works for me may not work for you. That's why we highlight various guests with different backgrounds to introduce new solutions. The goal is to spark new ideas so you can develop your toolkit and do what works best for you. Then you can create your own routines and live a happy and healthy life on your terms. You can think of this podcast as a collective hub of wellness information filled with insights to maximize your mental and physical performance. I often get asked two questions. What's EMG and why Nova Fusion? The first episode seems like a great place to explain, so today I'll break down both and why they mean so much to me in this solo episode. I'll also touch on why I started this podcast and what you can expect going forward. The best way to explain EMG is by reflecting on my past to see how everything lined up to today. I always liked the idea of karma as a kid growing up, but I became confused when I would try my best to do good and put good out into the world, but it always seemed like I got bad back in return. My dad was an alcoholic and drug user, while my mom is an overprotecting angel. I was constantly fluctuating from complete chaos to total confinement, and it drove me nuts. That's why basketball became such a great outlet for me. When things were bad inside, I would simply go outside to my hoop, and that was my way to cope with everything going on. I'm also an only child, so it was hard for me to handle those tough times alone. It was just me, and I could never understand why things happen the way they did when there's supposed to be things like God and karma to protect us. Then, just weeks before starting my senior year of high school, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, became homebound, and had the first of two life-changing surgeries that removed my colon 4 days after graduation. As a result, I didn't have much faith growing up, no matter how hard my mom tried to guide me in the right direction. Instead, I manned up and put my faith in myself to overcome anything life throws my way. That's been my mindset up until recently. I eventually realized that I can't do all of this alone. Nobody can, nor should we. Because of my situations growing up, it always felt like life was happening to me and not for me, until I discovered Stoicism and the power of having a growth mindset. I opened my mind to look at life from a new perspective, and things started happening for me and not to me. I could now see how all of the pain I experienced brought me closer to myself and my true purpose. EMG came into existence when reflecting on my experiences to try and connect the dots and make sense of my life back in 2019 when I was rebuilding from scratch. I was determined to break away from my victim mindset and had to find a way to turn all of this negative into a positive. I felt a moral obligation to share my story with the world and posted a vulnerable picture blog titled When Life Strikes. I'll share the link in the show notes below. That blog walked through the first 4 years of my health journey, and I had no idea what was next. But then it all hit me about a month later. Experiences plus mindset equals growth. Experiences embody willpower, determination, and the inner fire that burns within each of us. These are the events that shaped you into who you are today, and often those painful events are the gateway to growth. We all walk through the fires of adversity at some point and must overcome overwhelming obstacles to continue pushing forward. It's a constant of life that nobody can escape. The question is, do you want meaningful struggles that lead to growth and fulfillment, or do you want meaningless struggles that make you mad and miserable over time? The truth is, we will always have problems in life, no matter what you do, so it comes down to choosing your heart and what's worth it to you. Learning how to replicate and repeat success is much better than focusing on avoiding another failure. But we all have to start somewhere. I spent years restructuring my diet through trial and error, and it was one of the most hardest things I've ever done. But it was either that or stay on a liquid diet with limited options. As a side note, I was on a liquid diet for about 3.5 months after my second surgery, and let me tell you, I was struggling. So day by day, I expanded my palate and journaled how I felt after eating different foods. I definitely found more things that I couldn't eat than I could, but each loss turned into a valuable lesson. Now, I have a deep understanding of my body and what types of foods agree best. Thomas Edison successfully invented the light bulb after years of trial and error. When asked about his shortcomings, he famously said, "I have not failed 10,000 times. I've successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work." It's all about your perspective. Every experience is a learning opportunity to become better. You have the power to transform pain into purpose if you find or create meaning from your experiences. Mindset symbolizes awareness, perspective, and the natural equilibrium of yin-yang. We can't change the experiences that already happened, but we choose how they will impact us. Unfortunate events don't have to break you. Instead, they can be the catalyst that sparks your growth and changes everything for you. Mindset is the bridge that connects experiences with growth. We can go through the same experiences over and over, but if we don't learn from them, we will keep repeating the same mistakes and not make any progress. That's like saying sorry to someone, but then doing the same thing again 5 minutes later, except to yourself. It's okay to make mistakes, but it's not okay to repeat them. That's why awareness is one of the most important skills to develop. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses is an asset because you can seek opportunities that best align with you and foresee threats to avoid in advance. I know it sounds simple, but our minds are a double-edged sword that sharpens or bleeds us. A healthy, positive mindset leads to growth and new opportunities, while an unhealthy, negative mindset results in failure and disappointment. Fuming over negative emotions does nothing to improve your situation. Instead, focus on the positive to have more good in your life. Here's an idea that helps shift my mindset from negative to neutral to positive. Nothing is either good or bad. Things just are. Good and bad are subjective terms, which means you give meaning to them and how they make you feel. Things are just happening, and our thoughts make sense of events based on our perceptions and prior experiences. The yin-yang in our logo constantly reminds me to be mindful of my emotions because they influence how I see the world. Good and bad always exist and flow together in harmony. The question is, which will you choose to engage with? The quality of our lives is directly correlated with the quality of our thoughts. Choose wisely, friends. Growth consists of self-mastery, discipline, and the binding strength of stoicism. It's an art of striving to become the best version of yourself, to inspire and bring out the best in others. It's leading by example to do the right thing and pull the chains of progress to move humanity forward in a positive direction. A prime example of this is Kobe Bryant and the Mamba mentality. We grow when we learn from experiences and look for ways to improve. Don't get discouraged if things don't go your way. Failure equals feedback. Be curious and ask questions. Where did I go wrong? Why did this happen? What can I improve? And who can help? Then simply regroup and show up stronger next time. Life is a continuous cycle of making mistakes, learning from them, and bouncing back better. You are now equipped with a growth mindset and can look back to connect the dots of your experiences with a new sense of gratitude, knowing they have shaped you into who you are today. Experiences plus mindset equals growth. Michael Jordan is another great example of someone that embodies the EMG philosophy. From infamously getting cut from the varsity team in high school, he played 3 years in college and joined a terrible Chicago Bulls team. Shortly after, he endured a devastating injury at the beginning of his second season. He recovered by the next season, but went on to suffer defeat after defeat for his first 5 years in the league. Then when the team improved and had championship aspirations, they struggled to surpass the Detroit Pistons year after year. As a Detroit native, I never liked MJ growing up. I'm just not supposed to. But as I got older, I learned more about him and what made him so great. I discovered the mindset behind the man, and now he's one of my biggest role models. I realized how all of those hardships molded Michael into the legend we know today. He turned pain into a propelling purpose that kept his inner fire burning. Ultimately, it's not the hardships that shape character, but a person's mindset and how they respond to adversity. That's what makes Michael one of a kind. He used his experiences as fuel with the right mindset to achieve great growth. It's not easy. If it were, everybody would be happy and successful, but I can say it's 100% worth your efforts. Those life-disrupting events don't have to break you. Instead, they can be the spark that moves you in the right direction. When life strikes, would you rather be grateful or shameful? Do you want to survive or thrive? The truth is, we will always have struggles in life, but you can determine the quality of your struggles with your thoughts and actions. Take a moment to think about how you deal with tough times. What do you do? Do you avoid them, or do you face them head on? Do you have ways to manage stress, or do you look for ways to numb the pain away? I know these are deep questions, but we have to be honest with ourselves. You can lie to me about how you feel, but you can't lie to yourself because you'll feel the pain every day if you do. I've lived in denial about my mental and physical health, so I'm not here to judge. In fact, I will publicly admit for the first time that I was deeply depressed when I was diagnosed back in August 2015 throughout surgeries to early 2017, so over a year. That's something that I've never wanted to acknowledge or admit, but I'm here to support and walk with you on this journey. This is why I'm so passionate about this podcast and Nova Fusion. I was stuck in the trenches and had to find ways to pull myself out and now I'm here to show you how. And here's the thing. I know most of you can't relate to Crohn's disease, and hopefully you weren't victim to an alcoholic parent either. But we are all battling something. We all have struggles and hardships, but luckily, most of the tools to manage those bad times are universal. This podcast is a platform to share those tools. Our evergreen EMG philosophy is the foundation to drive your transformation in every area of your life. The more you think about it, the more you realize how EMG can be applied anywhere. It's learning how to play a new sport. You're not going to get everything right on the first try. Just like the GOAT, Michael Jordan, he failed over and over until he succeeded. It's starting a new career path, which takes experience and an open mind to learn new systems and fit in with a new team. And it's developing stronger relationships. The more engagements you have, the more you learn about yourself and others to strengthen both bonds. Each situation will require you to put yourself out there and make mistakes. Then, it's up to you to have a growth mindset and see each setback as feedback to improve. Remember, failure equals feedback. Once you realize this, you will start seeing rapid results. Now, this is only half of it. EMG goes far beyond your limited experiences. The world is your teacher, and you can always learn something from every person or situation, even if it's what not to do. The key is to be a sponge. Absorb everything. A smart man learns from his experiences, while a wise man learns from his and others' experiences. One of the most impactful life lessons that I learned on my journey is that events are neither good or bad. It's our judgments about them that harm us. If you change the meaning of what happened, you change its influence and impact on you. Here's one of my favorite quotes from Seneca, a Stoic philosopher from nearly 2,000 years ago that really drives the point home. There are more things likely to frighten us than there are to crush us. We suffer more in imagination than reality. Now, how many times have you wanted to do something like go to the gym or start a conversation with someone, but you overthink it and back out? I know I've been there more times than I can count, and I felt bad about myself after each time. The only thing worse than acting on your fears is the regret of never knowing if you don't take a shot. Even if things do go sideways, you will become more resilient and learn a valuable lesson from that experience. It's always a win-win situation when you have an EMG mindset. Experiences plus mindset equals growth. Understanding the EMG philosophy is essential because the fusion philosophy complements it like peanut butter and jelly. Feel free to re-listen to the EMG breakdown again if that felt a little fast. Take notes even, and tag us on Instagram at NovaFusionCo for a repost and feature in our highlights. Again, that's at NovaFusionCo. Now, who is Nova and why fusion? Nova Fusion exists to be an icon of inspiration and beacon of hope for anyone going through a tough time, to show that if myself and others can get through our overwhelming challenges, then you can get through yours. That's the brand and purpose of everything I do in a nutshell. To inspire others and move humanity forward in a positive direction. The origins of Nova Fusion came to me when I was daydreaming in an astronomy class at Michigan State University. We learned about nuclear fusion and supernovas, and something about both starstruck me. I've always been a big fan of alter egos, and I'm sure you're familiar with a few. Slim Shady, Beyonce and Sasha Fierce, the Black Mamba, the Fresh Prince, or Ziggy Stardust. Okay, I don't even know who Ziggy is, but you get the point. My alter ego happens to be Nova. Nova represents a sudden, rapid increase in a star's brightness and new life. This is symbolic for me to break the chains of my past. I had to separate from my sick identity and transform into a healthy burst of light and energy. With practice over time, I can flip a switch from passive Dan to dynamic Nova at any moment. All I have to do is splash some fuel on my inner fire and then bang, alter ego activated. The beauty of alter egos is the ability to get beyond yourself and your past to embody a new empowering identity of who you want to become. Think about how the highest version of yourself would think, say, and do, and then step into that. It's a great way to reduce overthinking and overcome the fear of judgment so you can have the courage to honestly express yourself. It's easy to indulge in ego and put on a show, but it's hard to show your true colors and be vulnerable. I've learned that people will love or hate you no matter what you do, so you might as well love yourself first and do what makes you happy. You can be, do, and have anything you set your mind to. The only thing holding you back is you. Eventually, you won't have to flip a switch. You'll naturally embody your highest self without thinking about it because that's who you have become. That's your identity. Thoughts turn into beliefs, beliefs turn into actions, and actions turn into results. Now this sounds great, but getting there doesn't happen overnight. Our minds are 95% subconscious, which is everything we do but don't think about doing. It's our autopilot mode with all of the mindless habits we've accumulated over the years. The other 5% is our conscious analytical mind. The thousands of subconscious thoughts we have throughout the day are random, but thinking is intentional. We are creatures of habit, and it's difficult to snap out of our routines, but it is possible, and alter egos are a great way to break the cycle and step into something new. By this point, you're either thinking I'm kind of smart or a bit crazy. I'd like to think it's a mix of both. But that's only half of it. We can't forget the fusion. This is a concept I learned from Bruce Lee. He invented his own way of martial arts by learning various styles and fusing the most useful techniques into a one-of-a-kind approach. Bruce was proficient in Wing Chun fists, karate, Western boxing, and many other forms, including cha-cha dancing for his footwork. He learned how to punch the best, kick the best, block the best, and be the best. He was free-flowing and not limited to a particular style or range of motion. His approach was to find and apply what was most effective and natural for him. Despite his strong will to succeed, Bruce's main objective wasn't to win fights. He was more concerned with learning and becoming the best fighter he could possibly be. You learn more by getting punched in the face than watching from the sidelines. Bruce understood this and didn't waste any time to absorb from the best, even if that meant absorbing a few punches to the face. This is the fusion philosophy at its finest. It's an accumulation of knowledge put into one special system, and I incorporate this same way of thinking with life. Life is your teacher, and I'm always learning from everyone and every experience. The key is to seek out desired qualities and absorb them into your lifestyle. Take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Be free-flowing and adaptable like water to overcome any obstacle in your path. Nova Fusion is a reflection of how I view the world and aligns with our EMG tagline, experiences plus mindset equals growth. We're just scratching the surface, but that's probably a lot to take in today, so we'll wrap things up. But first, here's what you can expect going forward. Each episode will provide you with tools to maximize your mental and physical performance. You will hear inspiring stories that move you and open your mind to what's possible. One thought, one inspired action can change everything for you. Our featured guests have also transformed their pain into purpose and are here to tell you how so you can navigate through tough times and take control of your life. There will also be a mix of solo episodes like this one to go deep into specific health and mindset topics. EMG Transformations is the podcast for you to learn and apply the world's best wellness and resilience practices to stay mentally and physically fit. We're compressing decades of wisdom into 15 to 90-minute episodes that are jam-packed with golden nuggets of information for you to implement and spark your transformation. We'll close this episode out with a quote from Marcus Aurelius that embodies everything Nova Fusion and EMG. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Now it's time for you to ignite your inner fire and step into your highest self. What's your Nova? Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of EMG Transformations. You never know how one valuable insight can make such a big impact. Please leave a 5-star review if this episode had a positive impact on you. And don't be shy to share this episode and tag us on social media. Let's walk this journey together. Subscribe to EMG Transformations wherever you're tuning in so you don't miss the next episode. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can watch on YouTube. We'll see you next time on EMG Transformations.